So I just finished a 4-hour live stream, and now I'm making a YouTube video. So I know there's a lot of talk about me not being very productive, but take that, mum. Speaking of being productive, over the past few months, I was taking driving lessons, and then recently I took my driving test, and I passed it. I passed it with only 3 minor faults. In a British driving test, you can get 15 minor faults and still pass. If you get 16, then you lose. My driving faults, 2 of them were the same, which were not getting up to speed, fast enough, which in my defense, it was raining. So I figure it's one thing to not get up to speed and fail your driving test because you didn't. It's another thing to die on your driving test. So I went with the former. I just didn't get up fast enough. Twice. The other one, they get you to pull up at the side of the road 3 times during your driving test. It used to be 4 times. 3 times now. And the first time, as I'm pulling up, I looked over in the mirror and I saw there was a gap. And I thought, I don't want her to judge me for the gap. So I quickly swung in and scraped the tire on the side of the curb. So that was also a minor. But I passed. I passed with only 3 minors, which is a big dub. I was nervous, though. I've been taking lessons since July 1st. That was the first lesson I took. But for months before that, I'd been watching British, driving instructors, watching their YouTube videos, studying how to learn to drive. So I was watching DGN Driving, which is amazing. Aman over at Clearview Driving. My favorite one is a guy called Francis on Driving School TV, because it's not only is he good at teaching you to drive and explaining things, but it's just really nice. He's just a really charming, personable person, so I just enjoyed watching his videos. There was another one that I watched who is called Conquer Driving, who is jolly good, but the problem is I would watch his videos and he would just remind me of that puppet Stingy from Lazy Town. So the idea of me watching the British driving instructors to learn was it would save me money. The idea was when I start learning, when I take actual lessons that I'm spending my hard-earned boodle on, I'm not going to waste time with them explaining concepts to me if I already know the concepts. If I know how to enter a roundabout, I know how to emerge from a junction, I know how to do my mirror checks, I know how to sort of operate a manual car. These are not steps that I'm going to have to be slowly slogged through by a driving instructor who's trying to make a lot of money. And it probably definitely helped, I'm sure. But you do find yourself in the moment when you're taking a lesson and you pull up to a junction and you're trying to figure out where someone's going, everything that the puppet told you goes out of your head. I do remember on my first lesson, I did all my mirror checks. I got into, first gear. I started pulling away. That was immediate. And the instructor was like, I can see that you've, maybe done a bit of driving before. And I went, well, I've seen it on video. So it helped to that degree. And also, after a lesson or before a lesson, I could watch videos on whatever I'd been learning recently on, reverse parallel parking or whatever, and it would help me to remember those things, and I'd learn little different ways. The thing is, though, I made an observation before my driving test that it was making things a little worse. Last week, I was doing my final lesson before my driving test, and that night before, knowing that the test was just 4 days away, I stayed up and I was watching videos, just going over every concept, how to overtake, how to slow down before a roundabout. That was one of the main things that I just couldn't seem to do. I was going through these things, and then on that lesson before the test, I made a hames of the whole thing. Everything went wrong. Everything that could have gone wrong was going wrong. It was definitely my nerves causing the issue, but watching the videos of people driving was making my nerves worse. So after that lesson, where I fumbled everything, I almost ran someone over at a roundabout. Can't really blame the videos for that, but there was other things. I rolled back twice. I stalled twice, which I hadn't stalled in weeks. But I stalled in that lesson, and it was because I was thinking so much. I was thinking, oh, I need to remember to do this, Things that naturally, it was muscle memory at this point, but I was going, I need to remember to do this. And it was all stuff that I'd watched in the video before the lesson. It was causing me to fumble. So, after really messing up that lesson, I made the decision that before my test, I would watch no more videos. Between my final lesson, where I'd made a mess and my morale was in tatters, I wouldn't watch another single video about driving. And I didn't. All I did was I tried my best to relax. So this was what I went through to try relax for anyone who might be taking their test soon. The first thing that I did was the day before, I just switched off my brain and I watched the most mind-numbing stuff I could. I was watching Outdoor Boys videos. I was watching Field Days videos, just outdoor camping stuff. I was watching like the most dross British like TV shows, Gavin and Stacey sort of mind-numbing stuff. And I was just bringing my like mental speed down. I was watching Sam Harris, the like neuroscientist or philosopher, because he talks slow, so he's like slowing me down. I was just trying to slow everything down. I did the traditional banana that morning. I ate 2 bananas before my test. And I also started having Rescue Remedy pastels, which are meant for anxiety, and I think that they definitely helped. I would recommend that people have them. The way that I looked at it was the same with the bananas. Even if it doesn't work, it doesn't harm. At this point, I was willing to do voodoo in order to pass and get my license. The other thing is, I didn't tell a lot of people when my test was. They knew it was within a sort of 3-week period of now, but I didn't tell them specifically when it was because I didn't want the pressure of having to tell people afterwards. Oh, I failed. Like, you know, you turn your phone on after the test, it starts ringing. How did you do? How was the test? Failed. Failed because of this. Failed because of that. And the ultimate end to that story, which you already know, is that I passed. So it must have worked, I guess. It's that plus, you know, a huge celebration of my driving instructor who was able to teach this a new skill. I will say, I took a bit of a gamble with my driving instructor because he was brand new. When I approached him to, you know, learn, he had just started teaching people. He hadn't passed anyone yet. I was the first student that he taught from the ground up to pass their driving test. And I went with him for a series of reasons. The first one was the price, because he was brand new. He was very affordable. So that was good. I was saving about £5 or £10 a lesson, which was jolly good. The second one was his energy was like a dad energy. You know, he when I first spoke to him, it felt like a dad who was already proud that his son was trying to learn to drive. And that felt good. That felt like secure. It felt like dad was going to stop me from crashing this car. And on multiple occasions, he did. The third one was because all of the other driving instructors were all booked out anyway. And I got real impatient. I'd been saving money to learn to drive. And when I hit the amount that I had wanted to save, I wanted to leap straight into it. So I was making rash decisions on the spot. And you know what? I'm glad I did, because that driving instructor was fantastic. My driving instructor never yelled at me once. Not once. I got close to yelling at him, because boy was he sarcastic. Instead of yelling at you if you were to make a mistake, he would just say the most sarcastic shit over and over. And I'll tell you, when you are stalling in a roundabout and your driving instructor goes, "How do you feel about the gear you chose for this roundabout?" Bro, you feel like flipping out. But compared to the driving instructor that my missus had, where he was literally yelling at her when she got things wrong to the point that she was in tears, I'll take it. My driving instructor shepherded me into a great success. So I do credit my driving instructor for most of my success. He explained everything. Everything had to be explained to me again when you're in the situation. It's stressful, and you forget everything that you've been told. However, I do think that it helped. I think mentally processing the information in my own time, 1,000,000% helped. And if you're learning with a family member, that's a fantastic resource. Learning from those people is an amazing resource, because your family members probably don't drive right anymore, and they've forgotten the specific correct mirrors to check and stuff. Because, you know, when you become me with your fancy pink driving license, you don't always check your mirrors anymore. So it depends on what you want out of it, really. If you are learning with a family member, 1,000,000%, those videos are going to help you. If you're learning on your own, they will help you to a degree, but I had this quixotic idea that when I started taking lessons, I would just hop in the car and drive. I'd studied so closely and carefully. I thought I would hop in the car and impress my driving instructor by simply driving away expertly. That's not going to happen. Something interesting that I learned from my driving instructor while I was learning was that the DVSA once sent out a reminder, a memorandum to the driving instructors to inform them of their students not to rely on videos to learn because of the number of unqualified driving instructors who are on YouTube giving out the wrong advices. Apparently, there is a series of people who are not qualified who are trying to teach people to drive. I assure you, none of those people are the ones that I've mentioned. They're probably small YouTubers, about my size, a YouTuber. So just be careful, fact check things. Use not AI. AI will lie to you and just tell you what it wants you to believe or what it thinks that you want to believe. But it's a resource, isn't it? It's more information. Having more information will always help. And you know what? There was occasionally, because my driving instructor was new, I was able to correct him on things because I knew them from the videos, which I'm sure he loved. If you want to check them out, I'm going to link all the ones that I watched in the description. They're jolly good. I'm going to link them in the order top to bottom from my favorite to my least favorite, if you want a little bit of drama. And you know what? I'm also going to put the link to a picture of a dog underneath it. It's going to be a real dog. It's not even going to be AI generated. It's just a cute picture of a dog. And I don't even know what dog it is yet. I'm going to find it after this. I'm looking forward to that. I just wanted to make a video. I hadn't made one for a while. And this is it. This is me after 4 hours of streaming when I'm all lackadaisical. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you soon. Merry Christmas. I should show my license. Probably for the best I don't show my license. It's just going to be doxing, isn't it? The last thing I need is everyone finding out that my legal name is Ray Gapist.